We just needed more ink to stand. Thank you, Corey. How many people have ever been to a Kwanzaa celebration with a show of hands? Fantastic. How many people know what Kwanzaa is? Okay, quite a few. A little bit? No, a little something, something, but not everything? Okay. I did not know anything about Kwanzaa until about 3 years ago. Someone looked at me, and while I could take this negatively, they assumed or believed because I was African, I celebrate Kwanzaa. And so she goes, hey, Merry Christmas. Oh, Happy Kwanzaa. Oh, what do you celebrate anyway? I didn't know how to perceive it, but I walked away and thought, what is Kwanzaa? And why would you think it's important to wish me Happy Kwanzaa? I looked into it just a little bit, never took the time to actually read and find out what it is. A few weeks ago, I started looking at the Toastmasters manual, and I realized I'm supposed to research something and talk about it. What would be better than talking about Kwanzaa? I don't know why the other screens never popped out. But. So the first thing I did was just look up, what is Kwanzaa? And why is it important that it's being created now? Let's look at a little history. The first time when colonizers land in a country or in a territory, they will first bring in missionaries. The missionaries are going to teach you their faith. And it is their faith the way they practice it, not the way it makes sense to your community. Traditionally, Africans either had multiple wives or women had multiple husbands. And this made sense because it was a sense of wealth. If you were a man or a woman with many spouses, you were considered wealthy. And this was a very good thing. Now, the Caroline today would probably go, oh no, this is not okay, it's doing this to the women, and it's, but the truth of the matter is, in that space, it made sense. You think about it, if you're a man with one wife, and you end up getting 2 children, there's one point when your wife is expectant, there will only be one person working in that household. So there will only be one person going out to herd the cattle, to till the land, to fetch the water, to fetch firewood. Basically, all the work will be on the shoulders of one man. Now let's look at a different scenario where a man has married 4 women. Out of the 4 women, 2 are pregnant. You still have 3 people who are working. 3 people who are providing for this home, 3 people who are helping the 2 women who are pregnant. 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, the one home will have 3 people working. The entire workforce will be 3 or 4 people, the husband, the wife, and 2 kids. In this other scenario, you will have a workforce of 21 people. 21 people will get out and till the land. Between the 21 of you, you're tilling land, you're fetching firewood, you're fetching water, you're going out to hunt, you're providing security for your home. That means you can till more, you can provide more crop, you can basically build a bigger community for yourselves. So when a missionary comes in and says, in your community, having more than one wife or having more than one husband is wrong, is it really wrong? In this community, should you come in and bring in the religion that you feel is so right for a community without understanding the impact it has on them? Fast forward 50 years, 40 years from that time, you have a community like myself that does not know any of the cultural things that were done, that does not understand any of the cultural dances, that does not understand why if today I go home with my parents, my husband and I cannot sleep in the same homestead with them. I need to sleep in a separate homestead. That when a man gets to the age of 14 and he gets circumcised, he cannot sleep in his father's home. He needs to move out and start building his own shed, his own home. But how do I understand this when I was told it was wrong? How do I relate to this when I was told it's not the right thing to do? And how do I assimilate to a religion that says Christianity is what to do? Well, there's Christmas, and then there's Christmas, and there's a white guy in a red suit who comes around and gives you gifts, but he never really shows up. So you buy the stuff, you put it there, and then you go, yeah, I got stuff. So how do I, as a person who was brought up as a Christian, because Christianity was called the right thing, because the way of the missionary and the way of the colonizer was called right, how do I take my life today and move it to that with a sense of purpose, with belief, and with the endeavor to be a good person and productive in the community? What Dr. Maulana Karenga did was invent Kwanzaa. What Kwanzaa does for the African American community is that it tries to take the deepest roots of African culture and incorporate them into their celebration and into their everyday life. Dr. Karenga actually traveled throughout Africa. There's about 56 countries in Africa, so there's no way you can be able to take all those cultures and just make one universal trade and say, this is a celebration of Africa. What he did is he went from community to community and he tried to pick the most meaningful parts of that community and bring it together into a celebration that would be meaningful to a wide range of people from different heritages, from different backgrounds. But the consistency in what he was trying to bring to this community is what was important. What Dr. Karenga did is bring in, the first thing was the 7 principles, Nguzo Saba. I don't know what direction I'm going, there we go. Nguzo Saba is the 7 underlying principles that he actually found in every community. But before I go through the Nguzo Saba, what is Kwanzaa? Kwanzaa is fast. Fast what? Kwanzaa is a Swahili word for the first fruit of harvest. Traditionally in Africa, the first fruit of harvest was the biggest celebration anyone had. There was a drum roll and people came out at night and they danced and they sang because the rains were good and people harvested a lot of crop. Hence, the Kwanzaa celebration, the 7 days of Kwanzaa. During that celebration, we celebrate each principle on an individual day. So on the first day we celebrate unity, umoja, self-determination on the second day, and so it goes each day of Kwanzaa. And on the last day, on the 7th day when we celebrate our faith, imani, it is a big party. It's called karamu. You eat, you share, and you give gifts. Besides the Nguzo Saba, he also created the 7 symbols of Kwanzaa. The mat, mkeka, it is a fabric that holds the entire community together. The crop, it's the harvest, the first harvest that you celebrate with Kwanzaa on the first night of harvest. Kinara is the candle holder, the base that holds the entire community together. Mishuma is the 7 candles. It's the light, it's the grace that sends the community out to do the right thing. Muhindi is a corn. A corn plant has multiple corns that come off of it, and it symbolizes family and children. Kikombe cha umoja is a cup of unity, and it is taken around and everyone drinks from it. And then zawadi is the gift. The focus of the gifts is always something educational, and it's only for the children. Educational, meaningful, and should help them grow or learn in one way or another. Kansas City has one of the biggest Kwanzaa celebrations in the US at this time. Very surprising. I have not been, I will be. I hope you've learned something positive about Kwanzaa today. Thank you.